So first I want to say I am so grateful and so blessed to be part of this team. I'm so grateful for all that we are in this community. I'm so grateful to have Reverend Dr. Temple Hayes as my leader and my mentor. My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive. And to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. Those are the words and thoughts of Maya Angelou, my 6-foot-tall friend. Recently I had an opportunity to reflect on my life's mission, my calling. Someone asked me, if you could do anything in the world, would you be doing what you're doing right now? Let's all let that sit for just a moment. Would you, if you could do anything in the world, are you doing what you would be doing? I'm going to answer that question a little bit later. So have you reflected lately on your life's purpose, your life's mission? Sometimes we get caught up and we start living life on autopilot. We set that GPS, but we set it a week ago and we're still going on those same directions that aren't taking us where we want to go today. Without much focus and with much thought, we're just letting life happen to us. We're living life by default. Do you find yourself that way? What I say to you is live your life. Live your life fully. Live your life intentionally. And are you engaging in your life? Fully and completely immersed in love. Fully and completely immersed in joy. Completely immersed in happiness. For what God has put in your heart as your calling, as your purpose, you cannot do alone. What is for you, and you alone. There is no doubt about that. Success will come and you will thrive when you co-create your life with God. You co-create with some passion, with some compassion, with some humor, and some style. In Proverbs 3:4, so you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man. As you pave your path to success, your mission, your purpose, there will be many possibilities and quite possibly some challenges. As you stay strong in connection to Source, you will find a flow and an ease. It's also possible that you find yourself sometimes in an endless search, an endless loop of trying this and then trying that. And then in exasperation, giving up. In aggravation, beginning to doubt, why did I ever think I could do this in the first place? Have you been there? I think if we're being honest, we all have to admit that at some point in our life, we have been there in that defeated place. So when we admit that we have been there, but we know the way forward. What is the way? Steve, if you can move on up there for me. What is the way forward when we find ourselves there in that defeated place? That place that we're stuck, that we're mired down like we're in the muck, and we can't get our feet out, we can't move, and we don't move for fear of failing, for fear of going the wrong way. If that's where you are, stop. It's time to stop S-T-O-P. Stop. Stop what you're doing. Take a breath. Open your heart. Pivot and step. Pivot and step into a co-creation connected to Source. So that STOP is an acronym. Stop what you're doing. Take a breath. Open your heart. Pivot and step. You know, my first introduction to pivot and step was as a young Marine recruit at Parris Island, South Carolina. Pivot and step is not a stationary movement. About face, right face, left face, forward march. Those are movements you do from the stationary. A pivot and step is a movement you do on the march. So a pivot and step means there's something up there our platoon doesn't want to get into. We just don't want to be in that. So what are we going to do? We're going to pivot and step. And we're going to go the other way. Because that's what a pivot and step is. So if you find yourself in that place where there is a challenge that seems insurmountable, well, just pivot and step. Pivot and step. A pivot and step keeps the squad aligned one to each other. A pivot and step keeps the platoon aligned one squad to the other. A pivot and step can keep you aligned with God and aligned with your purpose, knowing that any challenge put in your way is not for you, so I'm just going to pivot and step and go the other way. And that's the path I was meant to go, as Reverend Aileen told us the other day. Sometimes the obstacle is the way forward. So don't focus on how big those obstacles are or how big the challenges are. Focus on how big your God is. How big is your God? Because my God is limitless. My God is powerful beyond measure. And you have God's favor. We are all blessed children of God. Having favor doesn't mean you won't ever have those challenges, but it means those challenges will not and cannot defeat you, because you are going to stop, take a breath, open your heart to that connection with God, and then you're going to pivot and step. You are going to pivot and step. God will favor you to fulfill your purpose. When you honor your purpose, strive forward. Step boldly forward. Step boldly forward with that passion, with some compassion, with faith, with humor, and with style. Scripture says it's not luck, it's God's favor. From the fullness of His grace, we have all received one blessing after the other. And that's John 1:16. And it reminds me of a song our voices do beautifully. From the fullness of His grace. I love that song. You need to put it on sometime. Yeah. And favor, we are all immersed in favor when we just allow it. And favor brings healing. Angels work for and with all those who claim and declare favor. Declare favor. Declare it out loud. I am favored. Yes. Live your purpose. Yes. Live your purpose. And let God show out in your life, because God will show out if we just let Him. Yes. In the Bible, David spoke, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." And that was a whole song growing up in my papa's church and my Southern Baptist church. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. You know, the Bible's been translated so many times. One of the translations uses the word favor instead of goodness. Surely favor and mercy shall follow me. So, what about David? When he said that, so if that translation is the correct translation, he was declaring favor. Surely favor and mercy shall follow me. No wonder he was able to defeat a giant so great that he couldn't even imagine it. And yet, he pivoted and stepped and walked boldly out onto that field with just a slingshot in his hand. It was his purpose. It was his passion that felled that giant. When you know you are favored, and you know you are loved unconditionally, you have the courage, the strength to step out boldly and accomplish great and even greater things. Alone, you don't have the power. Alone, I don't have the power. Alone, none of us does. But when we accept and receive the favor of God, the one presence and the one power, we will have infinite opportunities, infinite possibilities. God's favor will bring those opportunities that you didn't even see coming. You couldn't even imagine them. Maybe it's going to be a loan that gets approved that you thought maybe was already, no, not going to happen. Maybe it's an unexpected promotion in your job. Or maybe it's that you just start getting good breaks all the way around everywhere you go. Start getting good breaks. So how do we gain that favor? How do we gain favor with God? It's ours for the taking. It's right there. If we honor our connection to God, accept with each breath that divine life force energy, that is love. That is unconditional love. We embrace it. Then live your life. Live your life on purpose. Live your life intentionally. Be an intentional spirit, like Reverend Dr. Temple's radio show says. Be an intentional spirit. Immerse yourself in God's favor, because God's favor will allow you to stand out, to stand up, to succeed. You will find doors opening for you just as if by magic. When you embrace and know you are favored, you claim it and proclaim it. You know you are a divine child of God. You will stand up, stand out. Influence, income, opportunity will come to you. All that you hardly dared to imagine will come true for you. There is greatness in you. There is greatness in you. When you come to that day that you know you are favored by God, know that. Live that. Your light shines so bright, people can't turn away. And look within, because that's where it is. That's where it's always been. There is no external source that's going to make you happy, that's going to make you successful, that's going to make you joyful. The source is right there inside you. God within you, the Christ consciousness within you. That's where it is. That's where it has always been. And you have to make room. You have to make room for what God has in store for you. Make room and God will guide you, show you where you're going. You know, visualization is a wonderful tool in our spiritual toolbox. We visualize what we want to create. back when I was a young athlete training to be on the Olympic team in college, well, we American athletes, we weren't the top of the heap. It was the East Germans and the Russians, because they had state-sponsored technology. Their countries were doing experiments, creating new technology to help the athletes. So, man, I was like a sponge. I would get every article I could and read it. That was my first introduction to visualization. Because in 1979, training for the 1980 Olympics, I read a story about the East German women's swim team and how they did visualization and how the study had gone. They had put electrodes on the athletes, put them up on a treadmill and had them run. And then they took all that data, when the muscles were firing, when the brain was firing the muscles, telling the muscles to fire. Then they brought the same group of athletes and set them in recliners and said, now I want you to visualize that race. Not do it, just visualize it. In every detail, smell it, see it, be there. They visualized that with the electrodes hooked back up to them. And then when they studied the data, they could tell no difference between the actual doing and the visualization as far as the brain and the muscles. So you can think your way into shape. Yes, you can. You can think your way into shape. Just think it. And in that article, it ended with a quote, and this quote has been attributed to so many people, I don't know who to attribute it to, because they change one word and then they say it again, and then somebody else changes a word and says it again. But it was my mantra for so many years training. What the mind can conceive, the body can achieve. And when you're a high jumper and you're looking at that bar and it's taller than you are, you're thinking, it's all mental. It's all up here. Do you know you can run up there and fling your body up in the air and get over that bar? Do you know you can? Can you visualize it? Can you feel every bit of it? Because that's where it's at. So every track meet, I would go and find a sacred space on the campus, wherever it was. Usually it was the chapel, because most colleges have a chapel. And I would go, and nobody be in there, because college students ain't going to the chapel. But I would go in there because it was a quiet, sacred space. And when you walk into a sacred space, you can feel it. You can feel the vibration. You can feel the energy. And I would sit in there and I would visualize my day. Each and every attempt, I would visualize and see it. And I was undefeated because I saw it before I even walked out there. I knew it. I knew who was going to win. And it wasn't about being cocky or being boastful. I walk out there and put my, high jumpers. We were the prima donna of the track and field world. We walk out there and put our little umbrella up. And then we get our stuff all ready. And then we sit under that umbrella till it's our turn to jump, and then we get up and stretch a little bit, and then we get up there and jump, and then we come right back and we get under our umbrella, and it takes all day. It takes all day, And then usually, if you're the better one, the higher seed, you're going to go. They put the bar up, and you're ready to jump, and everybody's jumping. You go pass. Bar goes up a little bit, pass. Oh, then all the other competitors go, what? Who is she? Because I was just a little known, hardly known girl from the mountains that nobody knew who I was. And I'm just sitting over there pass. And I was jumping against an Olympian who had won the bronze medal in the 76 Olympics. And she said, she started looking over at me because she was passing too. But she didn't think there was anybody there that was on her caliber. And I beat her that day because I visualized it. And then the next month in Track and Field News, which for those track addicts out there, runners, that's the Bible of the sport. And it said, unknown Unknown Kimberley Harrell beats Olympia. Yeah, unknown. I said, not for long, because I'm visualizing my way. I'm visualizing my way. So what the mind can conceive, the body can achieve. Know it, because it is that. Then be grateful. Be grateful. Be thankful. Because living in gratitude will raise you up to gracious living. When you live in gratitude, life will flow with ease and grace. You will be living in that passion and compassion and humor and style. Because God's idea of success is much different than our limited ideas. Just watch what God brings to you. Just immerse yourself in God's favor and let God show out in your life. Get ready for a new level of favor, a new raised vibration, and a new level of abundance, because it is yours and it's right there inside. You just have to know it. So in closing, I'll go back to that question I started out with. Someone asked me the other day, if you could do anything in the world, would you be doing what you're doing now? And my answer to that is yes. Absolutely, 10,000% yes. And now I am thriving here in this community with some passion, some compassion, maybe a little humor, and hopefully a little style. Thank you.